World of Words, Season 1, Words That Find Us Again, Episode 5, The Casket, What We Keep. Chapter 1. Welcome to a new episode of World of Words on my channel, Die Kulturerbe Archivarin. Today we turn to an object that is small and yet holds entire worlds inside it. An object that once lived on nightstands, in drawers, in travel bags, in quiet corners of a home. An object that clicked, creaked, held a scent of wood or metal, and was always more than its material. Today's word is casket. Not in the modern kind. Not a music cassette, not a tape that tangles or a Walkman that clicks, but the original casket, a small box, a keepsake chest, a place for things someone wanted to protect, a place for what mattered, a place for what stayed, a place for what could not be lost. Perhaps that is why this old word still touches something in us today. A quiet longing for a space where something can remain. A space that is not loud. A space that does not rush. A space that keeps. Let us step into the gentle world of this soft, old, tender word. Chapter 2. The word. Origin, sound, meaning. Casket. A soft word. It begins with a crisp cask, a small opening, a setting down, a container waiting to be filled. Then the light at. A diminutive, a softening, a hint of something small, delicate, personal. The word comes from French cassette, from caisse, a box, a chest, a vessel that holds, a place that contains, a place that protects. A place that preserves. Very early on, the casket became more than an object. It became an image, for memory, for inner life, for what we carry inside, for what we refuse to give away, for what is precious to us. A casket is a container, but also an inner room. A room that does not need to be large to hold meaning. A room that does not need to be ornate to hold value. Perhaps this is the first quiet message of this word. The most precious things are often small. Chapter 3. Proverbs and Expressions. Proverbs are small archives of experience, and while the word casket rarely appears in modern sayings, its older echoes still linger in English, quiet, symbolic, intimate. Where language falls silent, imagery begins to speak. A casket becomes a symbol, for memory, for inner life, for what we protect, for what we cannot afford to lose. A treasure chest of memories. An old phrase, yet timeless. It does not refer to gold or jewels or outward wealth. It speaks of the treasures we carry within. The scent of a summer evening. The voice of someone we loved. the warmth of the moment that changed us, the beginning of something important. A treasure chest is a place where memories do not fade. They glow. Keeping something tucked away. A gentle idiom for holding something close, saving it for later, protecting it from the noise of the world. It can mean a thought that steadies us, a sentence that comforts, a truth we are not ready to share. Opening your heart's box. A poetic expression, rare but deeply human. It means revealing something tender, something private, something that has waited in silence. To open such a box is an act of trust, a moment of closeness, a step into vulnerability. These expressions remind us a casket is not only wood or metal, it is an inner space, a place where meaning rests. Chapter 4. The Inner Space. What we keep. A casket is a small room, a quiet room, a room that waits. Inside it, people once kept what mattered most. Things too small to leave out, too precious to expose to daily life. But this outer room is only a reflection. Inside us there are similar rooms, inner caskets. We open or keep closed depending on what we need. The casket as an inner sanctuary. Within us are spaces we do not show to everyone. Spaces that are soft. Spaces that wait. There lie memories, feelings, stories, hopes, vulnerabilities. These inner caskets are not walls. They are sanctuaries. Places where something may exist without judgment. A sanctuary says, here something may be exactly as it is. What we keep and why. We keep things because they matter, not to cling, but to remember. We keep a letter from someone important, a photograph that steadies us, a piece of fabric that smells like home, a stone from a path we once walked, a word that changed us. These things are small, yet they carry entire stories. They are anchors. They are markers. They are witnesses of our lives. To keep something means I recognize its value. I honor its story. I hold what holds me. The casket as an image of identity. A casket shows us that identity is not loud. It is quiet. It is gathered. It is preserved. Inside us are rooms no one sees, yet they shape who we are. Perhaps identity is less a grand structure and more a small box in which we keep what defines us. Keeping without clinging. A casket is not a vault. It is not a prison. It is a place of holding. Keeping does not mean locking something away. Keeping means honoring it. We may keep memories without living inside them. We may keep feelings without being ruled by them. Keeping is an act of freedom, an act of gentleness, an act of self-care. The casket as a companion. Perhaps there is a casket within you that you open often. Perhaps one you have not looked at in years. Perhaps one you have yet to discover. A casket is a quiet companion. It does not push. It does not demand. It holds. And perhaps this is the deepest message of this chapter. We all carry a casket within us, a room that belongs to us, a room that preserves us, a room that reminds us who we are. Chapter 5. The Poetic Scene. A casket in your hands. Imagine you are sitting at a wooden table, old wood, a surface that carries stories. Perhaps there are small marks, traces of hands that sat here before you. Perhaps a warm stripe of morning light rests across it, opening the room gently. Before you stands a casket. It is not large. It does not demand attention. It waits. The wood is dark, its grain like the lines of an old map. Fine paths, branching trails, small islands, as if someone had carved a lifetime of memory into its surface. You place your hands on it, slowly, deliberately. The wood is cool but not cold. The temperature of something that has rested for a long time. Quiet, patient, ready to be held. You feel its weight, not heavy, not light, a weight that carries meaning. You draw it closer. The table creaks softly, as if remembering an old gesture. The lid has a small inlay, a pattern that catches the light. A metal clasp, dull with age, as though it has waited years for this moment. You breathe in and out, slowly. Then your fingers touch the edge of the lid. It yields. A soft creak, a greeting from another time. The lid lifts, slowly, like a memory of returning. Inside is darkness, a small room waiting for something. Perhaps there is an object inside, a letter, a piece of cloth, a photograph, a token of someone's life. Or perhaps the casket is empty, and yet not empty. Even an empty casket holds something, the space that once held, the space that can hold again. You take what is inside, or you take in the emptiness. Both are true, both are right. The casket rests in your hands, a small universe, a keeper of stories, a quiet witness. You close the lid slowly, with intention. The soft click feels like a breath coming full circle. The casket remains before you, still, simple, honest. And perhaps you sense that it is not only an object. It is a mirror, an inner room, a symbol of what you carry, what you keep, what makes you who you are. The casket remains, and something in you remains with it. Chapter 6: Cultural Miniatures. Across centuries and cultures, the casket appears in small, vivid scenes. Moments where people placed meaning into something small enough to fit in their hands. These miniatures show how humans have carried memory, identity, and tenderness in quiet, tangible ways. The Renaissance keepsake, a place for intimacy. Imagine a finely crafted wooden box, inlaid with mother of pearl, its patterns shimmering in candlelight. In the Renaissance, such caskets rested on dressing tables, inside carved chests, or in hidden compartments opened only with a tiny key. Inside were kept letters of affection, miniature portraits, locks of hair, tokens of closeness. A casket was a place where feelings took physical form, a space where intimacy could be held and protected. The soldier's casket, a piece of home far away. In times of war, many soldiers carried a small casket in their packs. It was not ornate, it was not large, but it was precious. Inside lay a photograph, a letter, a scrap of fabric, a tag, a charm, a reminder of home. This casket was a quiet anchor in the middle of uncertainty, a whisper that said, "You belong somewhere. You are remembered. You are more than this moment." Sometimes it was the only thing that returned home. The child's casket, a room for the sacred. Children keep treasures that adults often overlook, objects that hold entire worlds. A child's casket might contain marbles, buttons, glass gems, a feather, a bone, a stone from special place. For a child, each object is a universe, a sign, a secret, a treasure. A child's casket is a sanctuary for the sacred logic of childhood, a place where the world remains magical. The traveler's casket, a companion on long roads. In many cultures, travelers carried small caskets containing a seal, a document, a bit of money, a charm, a sign of origin. These caskets crossed mountains, seas, and borders, a portable piece of home. They whispered, "You are on your way, and you are not lost." The casket of remembrance, a room for what remains. Sometimes a casket is found in an attic or an estate. You open it slowly, carefully. Inside lie objects no one can explain. A ring, a photograph, a button, a folded note, a dried leaf, a name, a date. This casket is a riddle and a testament. A testament that someone wanted something to remain, something meaningful, something that carried weight, something that deserved to stay. Perhaps this is the quiet truth of these miniatures. A casket is a place where the small holds the great. Chapter 7. Linguistic Images. When we return from history to language, we notice how deeply the casket lives in our inner metaphors. It is not only an object, it is a way of speaking about what we keep inside. The image of the inner box. When we say we have kept something inside, we rarely mean secrecy. We mean protection. An inner box is an image for what shapes us, what touches us, what we cannot afford to lose. A place where memories do not need to shout to be real. A place where feelings do not need explanation to matter. A place where something may remain even as the world moves on. The image of keeping something safe. To put something away for later is not avoidance, it is care. It means giving something the time and space it needs. A pause, a breath, a shelter. The image of opening. When we say, "I'm opening up," we are not opening a window. We are opening a room inside. A room that has waited. A room that is cautious. A room that does not belong to everyone. Opening is an act of closeness, a moment of trust, a step toward connection. A casket opening is a quiet ritual, a symbol of courage, of honesty, of humanity. The image of keeping. To keep something in your heart is not a biological statement. It is a metaphor for warmth, for holding, for remembering. Keeping is a gentle word, a word that honors rather than clings. It says, "This matters. This stays. This is part of me." The image of the secret. A casket is also an image for what is hidden, not in the sense of concealment, but in the sense of depth. A secret is not a shadow. It is a protected room, opened only when the moment is right. The image of the inner archive. We speak of drawers in the mind, of putting something away, of bringing something back out. These images show that we carry an archive within us, an archive of experiences, words, gestures, moments, people. A casket becomes a symbol for this inner archive, a small room that holds the vast, a quiet place that accompanies us. The casket as a poetic image. Perhaps this is the deepest truth of this chapter. A casket as a word for what we carry inside, for what we protect, for what shapes us, for what remembers us. It is an image of inner life, of tenderness, of humanity. An image that reminds us the most precious things are often small. Chapter 8. The Therapeutic Meaning. Therapeutically, the casket is a powerful inner image. It shows that what we keep is never random. It is chosen, felt, shaped by our story. Some things we keep because they steady us. Some because they changed us. Some because they still ask to be understood. A casket reminds us that inner rooms matter, and that tending to them is an act of care. The weight we keep and how it shapes us. Some memories are heavy, not because we cling to them, but because they belong to the architecture of our life. A casket teaches us that even heavy memories need a place to rest, a place where they can lie quietly until we are ready to look at them again. Therapeutically, this means we may acknowledge that some experiences carry weight. We may honor that we have carried them. We may recognize that we have grown through them. A casket whispers, what was heavy does not need to disappear to lose its power over you. It may remain in a good place. What is not ours, and yet we keep it. Just as important is the other side. Sometimes we keep things that are never ours. Expectations, roles that do not fit, words that shaped us without being true. A casket helps us discern what truly belongs to us and what we simply inherited. Therapeutically, this means we may examine what we carry. We may distinguish what strengthens us from what drains us. We may choose what stays and what may be released. A casket becomes an image of inner order, a reminder that we may choose what we keep. Shared rooms and the power of nearness. A casket is a personal space, and yet there are moments when we open it and let someone see inside. This is an act of closeness, a moment of connection. Therapeutically, this means we do not have to keep everything on our own. We may share what feels heavy. We may show what moves us. We may open what has waited. Shared rooms become lighter. Shared memories become gentler. Shared stories become clearer. A casket reminds us closeness begins where something precious is shown. Gentle rooms and what lifts us. There are also things we keep because they carry us. A sentence that strengthens, a moment that warms, a memory that steadies. These are gentle weights. They support rather than burden. A casket becomes a symbol for these soft rooms, places where the good is allowed to stay. The casket as a compass for self-care. Therapeutically, the casket becomes a compass. It invites questions. What am I keeping? Why am I keeping it? Does it belong to me? Does it support me? Where may I ask for help? Where may I set something down? These questions are not demands, they are invitations to listen inward. A casket reminds us, self-care begins where we choose consciously what we carry inside. Chapter 9. Poems and Interpretations. Poetry slows an image until it becomes audible. It lets a word breathe in a different rhythm, one that reveals what prose often hides. The casket, small as it is, has long appeared in poems and spiritual texts as a symbol for what we keep inside. The tender, the fragile, the unspoken. Friedrich Rückert, The Inner Chest. Rückert writes about the little chest each person carries, a quiet reminder that even human beings hold something unseen. His image is not about secrecy. It is about dignity, about the truth that each life contains a private room where meaning rests. Rückert's casket is intimate, human, gentle. It tells us every person carries something, and every person carries it differently. The romantic chest, a place for longing. In romantic poetry, the small chest appears again and again, a place for letters, tokens, pressed flowers, moments preserved because they mattered. It becomes a symbol of longing, not dramatic, but quiet, collected, held in a small wooden room that protects what the heart cannot let go. The spiritual casket, a room of the heart. In spiritual writings, the casket becomes a metaphor for the heart itself, a room that holds what is essential: trust, gratitude, memory, presence. It is not a container of objects, but of qualities, a place where the inner life keeps what sustains it. Interpretation. The casket as a mirror. Across these texts stretches the full human experience, the memories that shape us, the tenderness we protect, the longing that stays, the truths we carry quietly. The casket becomes a mirror, not of what we own, but of who we are. It shows we are shaped by what we keep. We are softened by what we cherish. We are deepened by what we allow to remain. Perhaps this is the quiet message of this chapter. A casket is not only a box. It is a relationship to memory, to meaning, to ourselves. Chapter 10. Meditation. The casket within you. Feel the quiet around you. Feel the breath that moves in its own rhythm. Feel the gentle space that opens inside you. Now imagine there is a casket within you, a small one, shaped by time, shaped by your story, shaped by everything that has mattered. It rests in a still place, a place that feels familiar, even if you have never visited it with this much attention. You move closer to it, not with effort, but with presence. The casket waits. It does not call. It does not demand. It simply exists in its quiet truth. You place your hands on it, slowly, with care. The surface feels calm, a texture shaped by years of holding what needed to be held. You breathe in and out, a little deeper now. Your fingers find the edge of the lid. It lifts with a soft sound, a sound like memory, like recognition, like something returning in its own time. Inside is a small room, a room that carries something of you. Perhaps you see an object. Perhaps you see a moment. Perhaps you see a feeling that has waited for your gentle attention. Or perhaps the room is simply open, a space that once held, a space that can hold again. Whatever you see meets you with honesty, with clarity, with quiet meaning. You take it in. You let it be exactly as it is. There is no rush. There is no pressure. There is only presence. You breathe again. A breath that feels a little fuller, a little steadier. You place what you found back into the casket. Or you place the space itself back into its room. Both are true. Both are complete. You lower the lid, slowly, with the moment that feels whole. The casket remains within you, a room you can visit whenever you choose, a room that holds, a room that steadies, a room that remembers. And something in you remains with it, quiet, aligned, at ease. Chapter 11, Closing Message. Perhaps a thought from this episode will stay with you for a while. Perhaps an image, a feeling, a quiet sense of what it means to keep something safe inside. The casket, small, steady, patient, may remind you that meaning does not need size, and that what matters often rests in the smallest rooms. May this inner image accompany you through your day, not as a weight, but as a gentle presence. A reminder that you may choose what you keep. A reminder that inner rooms can be tended. A reminder that you carry more clarity than you sometimes realize. We will meet again when the next forgotten word finds you, quietly, steadily, in its own time. If you feel called to wander a little deeper, scripts, audio pieces, and small companion materials are available on my channels, including YouTube and Payhip. Perhaps one of them will walk a little further with you.